Once upon a time in the chess world, there were true champions that they played for win right from the beginning of the game, no matter if they had the white or black pieces. They played for attacking kind of chess and crushing their opponents. And their only option against the king's pawn move, against pawn to e4, was the Sicilian defense, and especially the Najdorf variation. You can name the legendary Bobby Fischer, the great Mikhail Tal, the magician of Riga, and the great Garry Kasparov. In this series, I'm going to teach you the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian defense, my love, and the way I learned to play chess, to play dynamic and attacking kind of chess. If you're an attacking chess player and dynamic chess player, and if you don't want to play balanced chess position, and if you don't want to play for draw and balance, and if you want to play for imbalance, double-edged, active, and dynamical chess, then the Najdorf Sicilian is for you. And for the first video, I'm going to show you a model game of the Sicilian defense by none other than legendary Bobby Fischer at his prime in 1968. No one could stop Bobby Fischer. This game is played against Milan Matulovic. And his first mistake in this game was to start the game with pawn to e4 against Bobby Fischer. And Fischer can reply with his love, with his Sicilian defense, pawn to c5, knight to f3, and here it comes, d6, white plays the open Sicilian, and here knight to f6, knight c3, and the Najdorf variation. This variation first played at the top level of chess by Miguel Najdorf from Argentina. This a6 move has multiple purposes. It wants to play b5 in some position, it wants to control the b5 square, and in the Najdorf Sicilian, the main strategy is to expand on the queen side to play with this minority pawn attack, as you can see in this game, later stages of the game. And for example, if you consider the classical Sicilian, black determines the position of his knight on c6 square. But in Najdorf, black has a more flexible kind of style. In some positions he will play knight c6, but in most positions he will play knight to d7, as you can see in this game. In this game, Milan Matulovic played with pawn to g3. This is one of the variations. There are lots of moves in this position. Developing the bishop to g5 to e3 to c4 to e2, h3, a3, a4, rook g1 as played by many people like Caruana and others, and g4, this kind of stuff. We're going to cover them in the later videos, don't worry. In this video, you're going to cover pawn to g3. And here black plays e5. This is the reason behind the pawn to a6 move. You should remember that here in this position, if black plays e5, then white can give a check on b5, and this is not comfortable for black. It was actually, many players believe that this variation is very bad for black, because after knight d7, white can simply play knight f5, and after this position white is completely better. But in a very recent game between Fabiano Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura in Candidates 2024, Hikaru Nakamura played this variation and he managed to have an equal position. After a6, the game, I guess, continued with bishop takes d7 in this game, but Caruana couldn't prove his advantage. But you can consider this line, e5, as dubious, because after bishop b5, white has a good advantage. I will tell you why white has a good advantage after in the game, in this position. So, black first plays pawn to a6 to cover this b5 square, and after g3 or many moves like bishop e3, bishop c, e2, and other moves, many other moves, black will play e5. In some position, black can also play e6. For example, against bishop g5, we will play e6, or against bishop c4, we will play e6 to block these bishops. But against many moves, like g3, we will respond with pawn to e5. And here, white plays knight to e2. This is a positional kind of way to deal with Najdorf Sicilian. In Najdorf Sicilian, when black plays e5, he takes control over the center, and black has a dynamic position. He has a good center, two pawns in the center, and you push back the knight, and it should be good, no? The only problem is the pawns are soul of chess, as Philidor said in 18th century. And when you push this pawn to e5, then the d6 pawn and the d5 square will become weak, and white wants to use those kind of squares. For example, in many positions wants to play bishop g5 and to eliminate this knight and to use this d5 square. And in this position, for example, as I told you, after e5, bishop b5, if you eliminate this bishop on the game, for example, like this position happens, then white can use this light square d5, because this light square bishop does not remain in the game and black cannot defend this position well. So these are very detailed things about Najdorf variation that I want to tell you in the first video to know how black should deal with this kind of problem. So after g3, e5, knight goes back to e2. Now we know what is white's strategy. His first strategy is to attack these pawns. For example, he wants to play queen d2, rook to d1 and attack this pawn. And his second strategy is to exchange pieces and use this weak square. We will go and see. Bishop e7 by Bobby Fischer, and here he plays bishop g5. In recent games, white usually plays bishop to g2 and black responds with pawn to b5 to place his bishop on b7 and knight on d7. Black has a good game. You can probably in later videos we will also cover those kind of plays. And if you like to have a look at even close kind of Sicilian, Alapin, Marok Zibind and other kind of Sicilian, please first like this video and write your suggestions below this video and tell me which lines you want me to cover. In the most of the videos we will cover the main lines of Najdorf, but in the later videos we will probably cover the close Sicilians, because not all of your players, all of your opponents play the open Sicilian. But you can write down in the comments which kind of Sicilian you want me to teach you. So after bishop g2 we can also explore recent games, but in this game white goes with his strategy. He plays bishop g5. He wants to eliminate this knight on f6. And here, if for example we play castle, then white can take it, and this is white's strategy actually, to put this knight on d5, his bishop on g2, and white is arguing that his knight on d5 is stronger than this bishop on g5, f6, this dark scholar square. And in most of the position, this is the correct assessment, and you should be very careful. Don't be mistaken by this evaluation bar. In this position, white is very comfortable for playing, and in later stages, he can also put his knight on c3. And if he managed to exchange some pieces, then you remain with your weaknesses in this position, and it's not a good position for black. So Bobby Fischer replies with knight to d7. So if you're going to take my knight, I will accept it, but I will recapture with my knight. And now you cannot take over this square. So this is a very important detail. And here, white comes with an innovative idea. He plays bishop to h3. He says, you know what? I'm going to exchange all of your knights with my bishops. For example, if you play castle, I will take on d7. And if you take back, for example, I will take also this one. And after bishop takes f6, white can also grab this pawn. But I don't care about this pawn. I will just simply play something like knight d5. Now I have two knights and you have two bishops. But this is a closed kind of position. And I'm going to maintain it close, and you have these weaknesses. So you should be very careful. I'm not saying that this is over. I'm not saying this is over, but it is very hard to play. So look how Bobby Fischer responds. He plays pawn to b4. And here he is trying to put his bishop on b7. It's clear. And against bishop takes d7, in some position you can also take back with the knight. He's not forced to take with the bishop or queen. Probably it was the best idea for white to take it by this way. But he plays a4. He says, I'm going to weaken your queen side. Bobby Fischer pushes his pawn. Says, okay, come on, you can weaken it. And knight to d5. You might say, oh, it's a tactical mistake. Black can just simply plays it. White takes it, and after bishop takes e7, I will capture back. Yeah, this exists in Sicilian. It's a very good tactical motive, but white has queen takes e5. It is what he was considering, it's what he's relying on. Queen takes d5, I'm attacking this poor rook on a8, and if you play knight b6, I can still play queen c6 check, and this is not a bad position. This is not also bad, but Bobby Fischer just calmly plays rook to b. Here white says, okay, my strategy worked. Now I'm going to take on e7. What can be better than this? If you recap, I will just simply play long castle. I'm going to grab this pawn. Remember, we told you that this pawn is a weakness. You cannot even play rook to b6 because a5 is coming and this pawn is lost. But Bobby Fischer shows his difference in this position. He just calmly takes with the king on his side. He doesn't care. Basically, he just doesn't care about his king. He is the great Bobby Fischer. Who the hell is his opponent to scare him? So let's go and see. Queen back to d2. Now he realized that knight f6 is coming. And he's going to lose his bishop. Oh my god, so I should go back. And probably he should have taken. But he said, okay, if I'm going to take this, we'll take it back with the queen. And then bishop b7 is coming. And this is weak. My king is weak also. Black king is in the center, but white king is weak. This is paradox, actually. But he plays queen d2. He says, okay. And here Bobby Fischer says, do you want to exchange a pair of bishops? Because if you exchange it, I will just simply recap with the queen, and you remain with this weakness pawn. Okay, bishop to g2. Here Fischer could have played bishop to e6, but he just wanted to play bishop b7. Don't consider this chess.com marks on this move. This is a very good move. Bishop b7 is a very good move. He attacks this pawn on e4. What can be better than this? Queen to d3, defending, and now queen on b6. This is the dream scenario of the Najdorf variation. There is no more weaknesses. And look at this poor knight on e2. It can't move. Basically, it cannot move. This bishop on g2. This is a losing position at this moment. White lost in the strategy. Doesn't matter if the evaluation bar shows it's only minus 45. It doesn't matter. Minus points 45 actually. The thing is matter that white doesn't have a good plan to play. He should have played something like c3 or c4 to complicate matters in this position. But he said, okay, I'm going to just stay cool in this position. But now bishop a6. You can no longer play c3 or c4 because c4 I will play en passant and you will lose. So you should go back. And here rook f comes to c8. Okay. What are you going to do? I'm taking control over the queen side. You remember I told you black's main idea is to play on the queen side. White says, okay, I'm playing h3. Maybe I will try to play g4 and gain some play. And said, Bobby Fischer says, no. I'll just stop. So this dubious move doesn't exist in this position. This is a very good move. h5. And now pawn to b3. And here comes a very good trade by Bobby Fischer. Bishop takes e2. Give me your knight. It seems like that it's a very poor knight. Why Fischer took it? Because he saw this c3 square. If someone of you watched the game between Bobby Fischer and Tigran Petrosyan when he exchanged his powerful bishop, his powerful knight with his opponent's poor bishop, then you can see that this is a trademark of Fischer. He exchanged his advantages. His advantage was in this position, he has a good bishop. This is a bad, he had better minor pieces, but he says, okay, I'm going to just penetrate in my opponent's position. Rook c3, I have a threat of taking on g3. Okay, what are you going to do? Rook d3, and now rook c8. Takes. I'm going to take it. What are you going to do? Not now, but queen c5. I'm going to take it. What are you going to do? If you play rook c1, I can just capture this. This is your pawn is pinned. So rook a2. Look at this poor rook on a2. This is out of the game. And here we can see Fischer's calm and superior knowledge of chess. He just plays g6. Says, play. I'm just playing calmly. I protect my pawn. Everything is now protected. I have the maximum position. Bishop to f1. Queen penetrates. Queen to d4. Wants to take it. Look at this. Good knight against bad bishop. This is good rook against bad rook. Good queen against bad queen. And good king against bad king. This king is much safer than that king because this king, who can attack this king? No one can even dare to attack this king. So this is over. f3 comes. The grinding is continuing after queen there. Queen to d1. What are you going to do now? By the way, if he had played something like queen f2, h4 for example, just crashing. It's crashing in this position. If you take it, even knight takes e4 is possible. And if takes, rook takes h3 check. And if king g2, rook h2, and here Fischer wins this game. And look at this rook out of the game. So cannot do anything. So basically he plays just queen to g2 and queen to d1. Okay, queen takes f3. Thank you very much. This pawn is lost. This pawn is lost. If you push it, then this pawn is lost. So he just give away the pawn, and Fischer says, okay, I can win in any way I want, but I'm okay with the ending. I'm going to the endgame. So now I'm winning this other pawn also. Rook to e3. Okay, thank you very much. I have a very active rook, and I'm up 2 pawns. This is clearly winning. And look at these pawns. Look at these pawns. Look how Fischer just plays with his pawn, and king to e6, and now pawn to f5. This is great strategy by Bobby Fischer. This is a model that you should have in your mind, how to play against White's strategical ideas. White was trying to be clever in this game by playing this bishop g5 maneuver, and then putting his, after knight d7, playing bishop h3. He wants to use these two squares, pawn on d6 and pawn square on d5. He wants to grab it, but Fischer shows with that with b5 he doesn't care actually, and you can do anything you want. And in this position, already in this position, Fischer is much better. And look at this move. This king takes e7 was the brilliant move of the game. And after this, Fischer managed to gradually improve his position. So this is strategic kind of Najdorf. In the later videos, I will show you tactical kind of Najdorf, how you can punish your opponent tactically. But I hope you like this video, and if this is the case, and if you want me to continue this series on the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian defense, please like the video, share it with your friends, and if you are not in my channel till now, please subscribe to my channel and enjoy chess and